All right, so now I've gotten this question a few times if I can kind of compare both of these shoes. This is the Last Resort CM002, and this is the Etnies Locut. And don't get me wrong, both of these shoes are actually very similar. They're both very thin cup soles. They're both kind of like a narrow shoe. They have a lot of things that are very similar, but also very different. So I thought, you know what, it is kind of a good idea to do a video about this. There are a few things about both these shoes that I definitely like and I don't like. But yeah, let's just get right into it, right? So I pretty much skated both of these shoes for about 4 days straight, so I feel like this is a pretty even test. I feel like with that being said, let's just go look at the wear and tear of this shoe first. So as you can kind of see on the Last Resort, we're starting to get a little bit of rip on the stitching. But notice there's really only one stitch right here from the leather to the mesh right there, which is already kind of blown out. And there is another set of double stitching from the suede to the leather right here, as you can see. And don't get me wrong, it's not like peeling off or anything, but it's definitely starting to wear away. Also in the ollie area is kind of starting to fade away right here a little bit. It's not like completely blown out yet or anything. I didn't do any crazy glue on either of these shoes. I kind of wanted to see how organically they would rip. I feel like that's the real true test to see how long a shoe is actually going to last. But really, besides that, obviously laces are super chill. I didn't use the lace protection just because I honestly wanted to see if the lace was gonna rip. I do actually like these laces. They're actually really tough. They're like pretty durable. They're thick. They're pretty nice. I might be tripping, but the wear and tear on this is kind of looking like a Volk sole in that sense. I didn't really do a ton of kickflips or a lot of flip tricks in this, so I am kind of like surprised to see that that got a little bit more wear and tear than I thought. So now we're going to look at the Locut kind of wear and tear right here. And this shoe does have a triple stitch right here. And that actually I think does make a difference, because don't get me wrong, that's definitely starting to rip right here. But having that triple stitch I feel like is really holding on, especially in that like bottom area right here, because it's still not even flapping out yet, which is pretty good. The other thing I do want to point out, actually, you can kind of see along the sole right here on the cup sole, for how many kickflips I've actually done in this shoe, there's not any really wear and tear. I mean, you can honestly still kind of see a little bit of tread even on this, which is kind of crazy. The Last Resort laces I feel like are actually a little bit better. They're a little bit tougher. But even then for this lace, like look at that. It's like it still hasn't ripped yet, but we still have like a decent amount of lace, I guess, before it's not hanging on a thread or anything. But this is like kind of like a stock, just like flat lace. So, I mean, it's definitely still holding up. But as you can kind of see on the Last Resort, there's really no sign of like major ripping yet. Actually held both of the shoes. This shoe definitely feels much heavier than this shoe. The shoe feels actually very light. Now that I've been like holding it and kind of waving it around, I'm like, this is actually not that bad. And it's kind of crazy because I feel like this shoe is like more poofy and bigger than this shoe, and it weighs less. So it's kind of interesting. I guess this shoe does have more material on it. Obviously, it has leather, suede, and mesh. I think that makes a big part of it. The actual insole in here is pretty decent. It's actually not that bad. Like, don't get me wrong, the insole in this one is pretty thin. Like, it's actually hard to even pull out. But it's a pretty thin insole in this one. But the insole that you get in those Michelin soles, it's like really good. It's like a super thick STI foam one that's like real nice. So like if that insole low-key came in this, that would be like real nice. The next thing I do want to talk about is the grip on the bottom of the shoes. It's actually kind of crazy. You can kind of already see it fading away a little bit on this Last Resort. I thought it would actually last a little bit longer because like I said, I only skated these for like 4 days. You can kind of see that like it's starting to wear out pretty quick. On the Etnies, I'm not really seeing anything major. I got like a berry stuck in my shoe or something weird. Look how crazy, how high up this heel goes on this shoe. Like it just goes so low to so high right here, which is really not my favorite. It's just so low where like, this is actually kind of like the other Etnies, the Murana that I skated. It's just so low that you do kind of hit your ankle. You got to be kind of careful on the outside and on the inside. This actually, like being super tall, it is pretty nice. Like your foot definitely feels super secure in this shoe. Like I didn't feel like, even though it was a low cut shoe, this really made it feel a lot more secure. This shoe already is pretty high up right here, so you don't have that problem already. Also with the elastic tongue, it just really keeps your foot in place. This shoe actually does not have an elastic tongue. It's just kind of flopping there, right? As you can kind of see. You do have a little lace hole right here in the middle of this shoe that definitely helps keep it in the middle of the shoe, but there's not an elastic tongue. And this tongue is clearly not that poofy. It's kind of slim. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. People like the slim tongue, but your boy personally, when I do flip tricks and stuff, I mess up when I skateboard, you know what I mean? Like my board lands on top of my foot a lot. Having that protection on my foot is like a nice little insurance to have, you know what I mean? It's like wearing a knee pad on your foot. To admit, both of these shoes were really easy to break in. After about 30 minutes or so in the skate park with this shoe in the last resort, I was pretty confident with all my tricks. Like I was able to do pretty much everything with these shoes. I do want to mention though, this shoe felt like it had a lot more heel cushion when I first started skating it. Because after about that second or third day, this shoe got so freaking floppy on me. I was kind of surprised how floppy it got, especially for a Cupsole. I thought for a Cupsole it would keep a little bit of structure, but it definitely feels like a Volk shoe. So if you do like that Volk shoe feeling, maybe this Cupsole actually would be really good for you. At first, it feels like you got too much heel cushion, but I swear within a few days it'll go away. Ultimately, I just didn't like how it felt like a Van slip-on. I think that's why I personally ride Cupsoles, because I need a little bit more protection on my feet, so this shoe just ended up being a little too thin for me. This shoe also broke in very easy, but even when I first put this shoe on, I was able to feel my board like instantly, but it did take maybe at least a good 30-40 minutes before the shoe broke in. I think just because it's fully leather, it took a little bit longer to break in. There's some suede here on the toe cap, but if you can get like a full suede model in this shoe, I think that would be real sweet. I think that would actually be perfect, honestly. The other thing I do like about this shoe is that even for a Cupsole, it has a ton of board feel. Like, I mean a lot of board feel. Personally, I'd rather have a thicker insole in here just for a little bit more protection. I don't know if it's me getting older or something, but I like to have a little bit extra like kind of support and cushion on my foot now. So even if you do like Volk shoes, I feel like this would be a pretty safe option to dip into for a Cupsole. I mean, you'll step in here, you'll get a lot of board feel, but then you'll still get that like poofy Cupsole feeling, which is nice. The last thing I want to talk about is going to be price point. Exactly how much these are, but I remember spending over $100 on this shoe. But I mean, if you can get them on sale, I think, hey, it's a good option to try, especially if you like Last Resort. The Etnies Locuts are $90 actually, so this is under $100 already. I also have a 20% off promo code you guys can use, so you can knock off a few bucks with that one. So hopefully that kind of helps with the price point too. When you're kind of just comparing the prices of the shoes and just kind of how long they're going to last, I guess, I personally feel like this shoe could be cheaper. So like I said, if you can get this one on sale or something, maybe it's worth trying, especially if you like Volk shoes and a Cupsole look, you know? I do like the minimal branding on this shoe. You kind of can't really tell what it looks like. It is funny though, a lot of people were calling it the Walmart shoe. I mean, I personally don't see Walmart shoe, but I guess I get where they're coming from. But like, I don't think Walmart shoes are gonna have mesh and leather and suede on their shoe. But anyway, I think for a $90 shoe, this is not a bad option, especially if you want a Cupsole with a lot of board feel. And if you're like me, a fan of shoes with an elastic tongue, this is a great shoe for that. Since it's an early 90s shoe, I think that's probably why it brought back some nostalgic for me and why I like it even more. But back to the price point, I think for a $90 shoe, this is pretty dang good, especially with a 20% off. I mean, you really can't beat it, especially if you want to try them out. Ooh, actually, I did forget to point out this little plastic part here on the laces. This is kind of nice. It definitely helps your foot stay in place in the sense that like your laces don't get loose there. I didn't think I was going to like that much, but I do kind of like that. But with this, I kind of had a problem sliding my foot into my shoe. So if you're a person like me that doesn't, like if you like to tie your shoes and just slide your foot in and out, this shoe was kind of hard for that just because the backing was kind of tall. I mean, it is really smushy now that it's like broken in. It's probably way easier now to get in there. Like in the beginning, I had to tie my shoe to get like my foot in there. Where with this shoe, since it has that elastic tongue in here, I was able to slide my foot in and out super easy. And with this shoe, it does have like a leather backing kind of right here. And this literally keeps your foot in there so good. Like it's actually kind of crazy how you're like the back of your ankle like will not slip out of that shoe. I don't know. It feels super secure to me, but I don't know. You can get them and find out for yourself.
There we
So yeah, that's pretty much my take on both these shoes. I mean, honestly, they're both great cup soles. They're both super thin cup soles. So even if you're into Volk shoes, maybe you'd want to step into these, try them out. Kind of crazy. They both are almost the same height right there, but look how much lower that is in this shoe. That's kind of crazy. But anyways, comment and let me know what you guys think about both these shoes. Which one would you guys personally skate? And hopefully I answered you guys' questions about both these shoes.